Hello, and welcome to Focus on Hope. We are very privileged today to have our guests are from the Rehabilitation Services Administration, known as Voc Rehab, locally.
Yes.
And I'd like for you to introduce yourselves.
All right. Good morning. My name is Marty Landis Jones, and I am the supervisor of the Cottonwood RSA office, which is located on Cherry Street in the Department of Economic Security building. And I also supervise the offices in Payson and Show Low.
Okay.
And my name is Laura Bambush. I'm a vocational rehabilitation counselor at the State of Arizona DES office in Cottonwood. I report to Marty.
Hi everyone, my name is Deborah Osborne and I'm a supervisor for Rehabilitation Services Administration for the offices that are located in Apache Junction and Globe.
Okay. How long has Voc Rehab been in existence?
Voc Rehab has been in existence since the 1920s.
Wow.
There were, yes.
After World War I.
Yep. After legislation was enacted when the veterans were returning from the war and they had disabilities, they needed to return to work. So there was federal legislation put in place where states and the federal monies could develop and provide rehab programs, services to get the veterans back to work.
Yeah. How many offices are in Arizona?
Across the state,
Great
there are
many.
about 40 offices, and they're pretty strategically located so that most people should drive at most maybe a half an hour to get there, but there are some that are remotely located so that you might have to drive a long distance. We are set up so that we can try to go to a person's community and meet with them at a public location that is private. Because when people are looking for jobs, it's sometimes hard to get gas money to drive to a local office if it's farther away. But we do have about 40 offices, and we serve about, I'm thinking,
Statewide.
30,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And often our offices are in rural areas. For instance, Cottonwood, Show Low, Bullhead, Kingman, Casa Grande. What am I forgetting, guys? Of course, we've got the major metropolitan areas, Phoenix, Flag, Prescott Valley. Our new office has opened there. So they're statewide, to be sure.
There's definitely a demand for your services.
Yes.
That is correct.
Absolutely. We always say that it used to be said that Voc Rehab was the best kept secret because it's in every state in the United States. Every state has vocational rehabilitation services of some kind. But more and more, we don't like saying that logo. We want to be out there and promoting what we do, which is to put people with disabilities to go to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, can anybody apply? Tell me about the applying.
Sure, anyone can apply. We serve people, of course, with disabilities. That means they have to have a physical disability, a mental disability, or an emotional disability, okay? But anyone can apply, and it's up to us to determine whether they're eligible for services. When your children are in school, they are entitled to an education. We pay tax dollars, so they are entitled to that education. But when we work on what we call eligibility guidelines. So they have to have a documented disability that's made by either a PhD, like a psychologist, or an MD. And if a client would come to us and they'd say, well, I haven't been to a doctor in 15 years, but when I was back in high school, I was in special ed classes, then it's up to vocational rehabilitation to provide the assessments to determine that eligibility. And we say there's actually 4 criteria for eligibility. And that's that they have to have that documented disability, as I just explained. They have a disability which we say presents a barrier to employment. I always share with my clients that, we all have stumbling blocks, but together we're going to make stumbling blocks into stepping stones. So that
Oh,
you
I
can go to
like
work.
that. I like that.
And then they have to have the potential and desire to work. They want to go to work. And most importantly, they can benefit from our services. So that's our eligibility requirements for Voc Rehab.
Yeah.
And I might add that we do take applications from people who are as young as 14.
That's right.
That is
Oh,
the minimum
wow.
age. And there's really no maximum age.
No maximum age. I'm just now serving a gentleman 72 years of age in Apache Junction, and and is so thankful for our services. He had just lost his wife. He has diabetes and some other physical type of disabilities, and is on Social Security, but wants to feel productive, wants to have a little bit of a check coming in, and that's great. So he's very, very pleased with our services.
My caseload is primarily consists of those with serious mental illness.
Okay.
So that's a pretty challenging population, but I bring this up now. My clients range in age from 16 to 77. So, and I do want to stress too, the key word here is rehabilitation, Rehabilitation Services Administration, vocational rehabilitation, implementing services designed to assist our clients in overcoming those barriers they face in obtaining employment and keeping
Keeping it.
employment.
Yes.
And also retaining employment, because they may have a job and they come to us and they may need some kind of worksite accommodation, and saying, you know, I have this disability now. I didn't have it when I got the job, but now I do. A lot of times it could be carpal tunnel, you know, and they just need to retain that employment that they have. So we can go and do what we call assistive technology assessments, and really assist them in keeping that job as well.
Right. Like maybe get them a modified keyboard.
That's right.
Or set up their whole workstation so that it would not challenge the disability that they have and exacerbate it.
That's right.
You prepared some questions for me. I found I'm eligible for services. How long does it take for RSA to find me a job?
Well,
a
we're
good
not
question.
we're not a quick fix agency.
Yes.
Okay, and I
true.
share that in my orientations with my clients. If you need a job tomorrow, Voc Rehab is not the agency for you.
Okay.
I always share that best case scenario, and that's if everything really, really goes well. I have done it in 6 to 9 months, but I'm telling you, that is almost unheard of. Normally, you better figure on being with us a year at least.
Right.
And
Okay.
it depends, it's all
Too.
individualized for your clients. I mean, each individual is different, so you can't really put a time frame on it, but we are not a quick fix agency.
I was going to concur with Debbie. I've got a couple cases, I placed them in jobs within 6 months, but that is certainly
Wow.
the exception to the rule.
It is.
Because
Very
more
much.
often than not, we are seeking additional reports and recommendations from other professionals, other vendors, to make to ensure that this candidate is going to be successful in the workplace. And that can be quite time consuming for an individual with daunting disabilities, or some of my clients. I do want to stress how many felons I serve. I do have several clients with felonious backgrounds. And I don't want anyone watching your program, if you have a criminal background, you're wondering, will we talk to you? Will we work with you? Absolutely. So we do assist those who are trying to overcome years of substance abuse, years of a criminal life, and getting them back on the straight and narrow path to a productive life.
Wow.
What our guidelines are
Yes.
that are federally set are that from the day that you have an intake interview, we have 60 days to determine your eligibility, And what we prefer for people who have a serious mental illness is to have that eligibility determined within 30 days. From the date that your eligibility is determined, we have 120 days to develop the plan of services that will support the vocational goal that's appropriate for each client.
Yeah.
So we do tend to fast track the seriously mentally ill a little
Right.
faster than the general population.
Yes. I want to work, but I don't know what I'd be good at. Can RSA identify the appropriate vocational goals?
Absolutely, that's what we're all about.
Sure, that's where those recommendations and assessments by other professionals can assist our clients so much in identifying their vocational strengths and their vocational weaknesses. What kinds of jobs, if you do an assessment with one of our psychologists or vendors, you may be involved in a study that will take 3 to 4 hours to complete and produce a 20-page report that will give your counselor and you an excellent idea of where you stand academically and what can you really do realistically in the workplace and be successful. So we can help you find what careers you will be successful at if you don't know.
This means going to college.
It can mean that. It can mean going to college. It can mean something as simple as participating in what we call a work adjustment training program, because maybe you're a student who's just graduated high school and because of your disability you've never been able to have a job. So what we would do is put you in what we call a work adjustment training program where you can practice working for a few months and learn what is important: attendance, punctuality, getting along with coworkers, working at the speed needed to get the job done, those types of things. The services can also include the worksite assessment that we had talked about earlier, learning job interviewing skills, developing your resume. There are a lot of services that we can provide based on what your need is.
And everything is individualized for each person because we are all uniquely different. So it may mean 2-year or 4-year school and training if their knowledge, skills, and abilities and giving their vocational strengths and weaknesses, if that's indicated that they can be successful and looks realistic, absolutely a 2-year or a 4-year public in-state university or college can be a route for some training along with work adjustment training. We also do just on-the-job training. A young person gets out of school and perhaps all they want to do is to do oil and lube jobs.
Okay.
And we can get out in the community and do on-the-job training. And we can also do what we call vocational technical school training. And for specialized types of, let's say, dental hygienist or cosmetology or maybe it's auto mechanics. So there's
Truck
several
driving school, beauty school, massage school, art school.
So there's
We have
several
clients
types
in
of
all of that.
there's
doing
several
all of
types of training programs that are out there, but you know it all comes down to making sure you have that good occupational blueprint, that foundation. And speaking as a vocational evaluator a long time ago when I first started out serving people with disabilities, you know, I share with them that this is an occupational blueprint and we want to make sure that your foundation is built well. And so we do look at their knowledge, skills, and abilities and what they can do and do well and match that up with some interest testing to find out what they're really interested in. You know, someone may come to me and say, I want to be a rocket scientist in the state of Arizona. and I have to say, well, how realistic is being a rocket scientist in the state of Arizona? But it looks like you like science. And so we pursue that and we look at that. And I know that I helped one high school student get some on-the-job training, and he loved just being around a nursing home type thing. And so he became the busboy during the getting the dishes and things done in the hospital at the nursing home, and just working around, you know, that type of of atmosphere gave him the feeling that he really was, doing something science and medical related. So we always look at related fields.
Yeah.
Right, and we look at interests too.
Absolutely.
For example, I am working with someone in Cottonwood who has a great skill in the area of seamstressing or sewing.
Wow.
And so some of her training involved business management, bookkeeping, business promotions, that sort of thing, so that we could help set her up in her own business to mend clothing and make clothing for local folks at a reasonable price. It's not a business that she works at 40 hours a week because she has a serious mental illness. So she's able to take in clothing and repair it and mend it when she's able to, and it buffs up her income that she already has through Social Security, enough to make her life more pleasant and be able to pay her bills more easily.
That reminds me of another client that I'm working with now. This client came to us after years of mental illness and substance abuse, crack cocaine, methamphetamine. And she came to me saying she wanted to be a substance abuse counselor now to help others. I spent considerable time writing up a very detailed plan for this gal to return to school, a 2-year program where she would emerge as a substance abuse counselor. Well, guess what? She quit answering my calls. I was afraid she'd fallen off the wagon, so to speak. I just was afraid she'd gone back to drugs. What had happened to her? When I finally was able to get her to come back, she told me, Laura, I'm just so stressed out about school. I got way too much anxiety. The only way I've been able to stay sober and keep my soul at peace ever since you wrote that plan for me to go to college was making my driftwood chimes. Bling, the light bulb went off. I said, hey, wait a minute. Now, this gal actually combs the riverbanks of the Verde River and finds odd materials. She loves the fishing wire and driftwood and old silverware, and she puts them together and makes these beautiful driftwood chimes. And I said, this is what you need to be doing. And so now, instead of sending her to college, when we realized that wasn't going to be for her, I completely tore up that plan, wrote a new one where we're helping her to buy all the materials she needs to kick it up a notch, to start making these chimes. We're helping her show them on Facebook, at the local swap meets, at the swap meet stores. And we found the right niche for her.
That's great.
Now we found the thing for her to do that makes her, as she was talking, I'm thinking, wait, this is what makes you happy. This is what keeps the anxiety down. This is what works for you almost like a drug used to do. Why not make this into a business? Just a example of trying to find out, find the niche for that person and what they're going to be successful at and what they're going to enjoy doing and be able to support themselves doing.
Laura, you bring up a great point about how you could amend that plan. Once we make clients eligible and we find out what their what I call stumbling blocks are, then it's up to RSA to, as I shared with you, make them into stepping stones with either services that we can provide or through comparable benefit services that they might already have. And so we develop that plan, but life happens, as we know, even when people are in plan. And so, plans can be amended, and we certainly do plan amendments, and we justify that. So, I try to share with people, nothing is ever written in stone. Hopefully we can, this plan is just going to go smooth, and we're going to get you that realistic job that you've been wanting. But know that we can amend it if life happens. Plan amendments are doable.
Now, one can be on Social Security and still,
Question.
yeah, tell me about the
Good
people on Social
question.
Security.
That's where that's where our DB 101 website in the state of Arizona is so useful for anybody who's receiving SSI or SSDI but would like to return to work.
Yes.
And here you can actually plug in the numbers unique to your case and find out how much you can earn before you start losing your Social Security benefit.
It's a wonderful website.
Sure.
That's
DB
scary.
101,
That'd be
and
scary.
I'm
It
glad
is.
you brought that up, Eve, because for those who are watching the show, who are thinking, gee, I really don't want to lose it. It was hard to get the first, it was hard to get my SSDI. I don't want to lose it. For most people, there's what we call the substantial gainful activity
Yes.
number that comes to around $1,050 a month before anyone starts to whittle away at the Social Security benefits. So most people can make about $1,000 a month before they start to lose any Social Security dollars. Again, each case is unique. Those numbers look different for each person.
Right.
But certainly you can work and be earning income while receiving your SSI, SSDI, and SSA.
And that's why Disability Benefits 101 is a great website, because they can plug in their specific numbers of what they're getting in benefits, plug in how many hours they're going to work, at what wage they're going to be at per hour, and then it'll tell you exactly what to expect with your disability benefits. So it's a great website. It's one that we use quite
Absolutely.
extensively with RSA,
Very much.
and our clients are very appreciative of that. Very appreciative of it.
And I'd like to mention that there is a program, independent living centers across Arizona, and they provide assistance to people to live independently with a disability. And they also contract with folks to who provide one-on-one benefits counseling about should you really go back to work and what might the risks be, in addition to this website. And that brings to mind that we are a good information and referral source. We're aware of resources in our areas where we work, so that if this is your first time coming to apply for a state-funded and federally funded program, you can talk to us about your situation and if you would be eligible for food stamps or needing to apply for access and get medical insurance. We can guide you in the right direction to help get that information.
And there's a community information and referral number that if we don't have it right there at our fingertips, we can call and get those needed resources and then call the client back with that information. So yeah, we very much are great at always giving resources, because there are some services we don't provide, but then you never give the client, you always want to give the client hope.
Hope, yes.
So you
Hope.
you give them the resources to for their particular need, whatever that might
Right.
be. And so yeah, we're a great information and referral source.
You know, Eve, only recently, and I know you guys have had clients come to you in this state as well. A client came to me homeless, not a dime, no vehicle, how to work. Well, within a couple months, I referred this individual to Catholic Charities in Cottonwood. Within a month, we had housing. Vocational Rehabilitation was able to pay for this individual to have telephone minutes so they could become a job seeker. Was able to provide bus passes so they could go out to job interviews. You know, within a couple months, they were getting ready for work. And might I add, I had also bought that client, or Vocational Rehabilitation had purchased for that client a couple sets of interview clothes so they could look their best. Just to give you an idea of some supports we can put in there to make somebody successful. And I'd like to mention that so that no one out there thinks they're in too low of a state to come to us. Oh, no, need not worry, because I know you've had many homeless clients.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know in your area,
yeah,
but
very much so.
This is a very depressed area.
It is
Yeah.
a very
Yes.
depressed area.
We have homeless in Apache Junction and in Globe. But, you know, I think the passion that I have after being in this field for over 20 years is the fact that, you know, the mission really is about putting people to work. It's about meeting their independent living needs. And really, you know, there's such therapeutic value in just going to work, you know, and to see self-esteem rise. I had a gentleman that actually lived in Superior, and which we serve that area, and had a stroke. And he had always done heating and air type work. And now, when he first came to me, left side paralysis, could hardly look at me in the eye, and he just looked beaten. And he has now been in training and is been working, I think it's with Phoenix College, and he's going to be an inspector, you know, using that heating and air knowledge that he had. And we've done a lot of classes, and he's had to pass a lot of OSHA things. But to see him today, and to see the man that I knew when he first walked into the Apache Junction office, you know, that's the reason I do what I do, you know, to see that in those clients. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Your caseload must be heavy.
Well, in the Cottonwood area,
now she hits that sore spot. No.
in the Cottonwood area, we have been in transition with our staff so that we have about 200 cases, and right now 2 counselors. And we're hoping to get
Wow.
a 3rd counselor soon.
Yes.
And my vision as supervisor is for the 3 counselors to work together to do more outreach and build up the caseloads even more, because this is a needy area, and there are a lot of folks in the Verde Valley who need some boost up to find employment. So it is rough because of staff turnover. Hiring isn't always easy. But we do the best that we can, because like Debbie said, it brings a reward or a smile to our face, a gleam to our eyes to know that we've helped somebody to achieve their goal. So we plod along with our caseload and keep hoping that tomorrow will be a better day if we feel overwhelmed today.
Yes.
I'm glad, Marty, you mentioned community outreach. I'd like to take this opportunity to say, if you're a merchant in Cottonwood, you may see me in the not so distant future, because one of my plans that Marty and I are talking about is after the first of the year, I'm going to be pounding the pavement, going to our Cottonwood merchants and asking them to partner with us for on-the-job training, to open up even more venues for
That
my
sounds
clients.
very interesting.
And I think Debbie had alluded to our on-the-job training program, where what's in it for the vendor, what's in it for the merchant. We will pay half their wages while they're training to be your new next employee.
That sounds great.
So, you know, a warning.
That
If you're a
sounds
merchant
great.
in Cottonwood, here I come.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been very interesting. Very
Well, you're
interesting.
welcome. Thanks for giving us
Thank
the
you so
opportunity
much
to
for
come and
allowing
give.
us to share
some hope.
our hope for people with disabilities. It's our mission just to serve and to get them to go to work and be the best they can be.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, this is Eve Moffett, and I want to thank you for joining us on Hope is Alive and Focus on Hope.